Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Do you ever just sit around and reminisce on your childhood and memories start to pop up that you have insane amount of clarity to? Like you remember every single aspect of it, even to how the weather was that day or what even certain clothes you were wearing. Well, I do that often because I have a decent memory when it comes to my past. And that's what I want to talk about on today's episode. Story time. So roll that intro. So do you ever sit back and think about certain times or events that happened way back then, and somehow you remember every single thing about them, down to the smallest detail? It's weird how our brains let us forget important things like dentist appointments or even when your credit card bill's due. So I thought I would tell a story that I remember vividly from back in the day. The stories I tell on here might cover any certain topic because childhood is honestly supposed to be your best times. So remembering fond memories is much better than remembering things from when you were an adult, when I had responsibility. Anyway, the story I would like to talk about is the first time I ever seen a Panasonic 3DO. So way back in 1993, a system called the Panasonic 3DO hit the market. It looked and sounded like it was going to be the next big thing in video games. With an insane $700 price tag, you could bring CD-ROM technology into your living room. I remember reading all my gaming magazines and they were hyping it up to the max. So I was really curious about it. So fast forward to Halloween 1993. I remember I was staying the night at my cousin Casey and Travis's house. My aunt used to let me stay there on the weekends sometimes because my home life was pretty boring. I didn't have video game systems. That sucked. So she would drive all the way into town and take me back with her to where she lived in Chandler. Anyways, I remember like it was yesterday. So after a fun-filled day of riding bikes, hanging out, playing football, hanging out at the Widowmaker, and even hanging out in their half-built treehouse that they had in their backyard, it was time to come in, so we started playing some Super Nintendo. We were all playing Star Fox, trying to find the hidden levels, Black Hole, and Another Dimension. Leave it down in the comment section below if you remember those or were even able to find them before Nintendo Power or EGM published on how to do it in their magazines back in the day. I'm curious to see how addicted you guys were and see if you guys were addicted much as we were to Star Fox, because that game was fantastic. So we're playing the game in his room and I hear a commotion coming from the living room and we wonder what's going on. So we pause the game and all knock each other down trying to get through the hallway first to be the first one to see what's up. When you have all boys hanging out, everything was a contest back in the day to see who could do it the fastest, who could run the fastest, who could get the longest stick to beat each other up with, so on and so forth. So as we pile in the living room, we see his dad's buddy named Jason. Now Jason was a cool dude. He was an adult when we were kids, but when I think back now, we thought he was old as shit because we were so young. But I want to say he was maybe 25, which I wish I was 25 again. Now Jason was what you would call a computer nerd. He was up with the latest computer technology and all the cool games that were coming out for the PC, like Doom, Wolfenstein, and stuff like that. So he starts dancing around, excited as fuck for a reason we was about to see. He goes on to tell a story about him pre-ordering this last year and him taking off work and paying the insane $700 price tag, which we couldn't even comprehend at the time. So he pulls this black console out of the box and sets it on the table, and our eyes were just bugging out. We couldn't believe our eyes. It was a 3DO. I had never seen one in person because these things costed $700. Adjusted for inflation, that's like a console today costing $1,255.16 on launch day. So yeah, when I actually regained consciousness, I sat down, he hooks it up, and we're all just sitting there waiting with excitement to see what this beast of a console has in store for us. Then he pulls out the second controller he bought separately and is looking for the place to plug it in. So thinking it was like every other console he had set up to that point, me and my cousins, like I said, everything was a contest. We start yelling out to put it in the front because that's where it goes. We was used to Nintendo and Sega systems. We didn't know any better. So after looking stupid, we finally figured out where the Player 2 controller goes. It hooks up in the top of the Player 1 controller. What? We started looking at each other like, what the fuck? I had never seen that before, so right out of the gate, we were already kind of hesitant about it. So then he opens up the game case and pulls out a game called Star Control 2. As he puts it in, and we hear what we think is a diesel running. It is loud as shit. Jason put his hand on it, and it's running hot as shit too, just by booting up the game. Then the load time hits. I mean, it really hits. This game is crawling at this point. The screen is black as it just tries to load this game. And tries, and tries, and tries. It seemed like forever. Then it finally loads the startup screen. Then you hit start, then another black screen, and it's loading all over again. Me and my cousins were looking at each other, and we didn't know what to think. So when the game finally loads, I'm talking a good 2 minutes. The title screen pops up and just sticks there for another minute. Then you can move the cursor to start the game. So if you've never played this game, you know what I'm talking about. But for those who don't, here's a clip of it.
Mercury's a pretty inhospitable place. Watch out for earthquakes and those high temperature areas. Thanks, I'll make sure to mention this the next time I talk with our masters. I'm sure they will reward you.
Boy, oh boy, this game. I know a lot of people like this game, but I think it's horrible. I remember us standing there waiting on the horrendous load times to finish so we could actually see the game. Then we're all standing there, and I will never forget, Jason turns around and says, "Look how good this game's graphics are." Then my younger cousin Casey spoke up and said the most infamous phrase, "This game looks terrible. Star Fox looks way better, and it's on the Super Nintendo." Our mind was blown. I will never forget the defeat he showed in his eyes as we all laughed and ran back to the room to play Star Fox. We were joking about it all night. I couldn't believe such a high-priced system would play games at a terrible frame rate and insanely slow loading times. I will never forget that. It's such a testament to how good games look and played on the Super Nintendo. We kind of took it for granted. Even now, that's why these games hold up. To be fair, the CD technology just wasn't there yet. But damn, did they not play test this shit before they released it? The sad part about it is that there were only 3 launch games for the 3DO. Star Control 2, Myst, and Alone in the Dark. And Star Control 2 was the best rated. I couldn't believe it. But I do want to add, the 3DO did end up having some pretty good games for it, like Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo, one of the most definitive ways to play that game, and Road Rash, and also Wing Commander 3. But for us personally, we just didn't think it was all that great at all. Plus the weird thing is that I never saw it go on sale. Like it was $700 and then it died pretty quick. So I never remember even a price drop for us. So more people could pick up one. It's the only one I had ever seen until I started collecting in the early 2000s. So that's just a random retro story I remember from growing up. If you have any memories, put them down in the comment section below. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And until next time, keep on reminiscing.